Refuse disposal is one of the major environmental problems that developing countries are faced with. Health hazards, traffic congestion, unsightliness, unpleasantness, and blockage of drainages are some of the problems caused by the lack of efficient waste management practice in Nigeria and other developing nations. Now, the problem of waste management has two parts, that of collection and that of disposal. Can a turn towards renewable energy improve the situation? Is Nigeria equipped to make that turn and maintain it long enough to see meaningful gains? Well, Mayowa Ige from Financial Derivatives Company Limited joins me to discuss this. Good afternoon to you, Mayowa. Welcome to the show. Before we begin, let's take a look at this chart here. Q2 GDP contribution from this particular sector. I think it's a water supply, waste management. No, actually, water supply, sewage, waste management, and remediation. So Q1 2019, 3.75% growth. It jumped to double digits. Q2 2019 fell. Q3. Let's see here, Q4 2019, 3.52%, contracted in the first quarter of 2020, and then grew to 5.7%. So it's been a bit uneven, and I know sewage is thrown in there, Mayowa, but can we our first question to you is, what are the common waste disposal practices that we see around the world?
Around the world, most countries use the UN's 3R approach of reduce, reuse, recycle. And then looking at most countries globally, some of the disposal methods we have seen. Number one, recycling. A lot of countries, top countries around the world, go use recycling method, and then they also use landfills, but the regulated kind. And they regulate their landfills. If the waste doesn't fit the requirements, they have to treat it first. They also use chemical plant treatment, and they also use incineration. And then if you look at the UK, for instance, we know that from the point of collection from the homes, waste is separated into different segments. You have the recyclables, different from non-recyclables. Recyclable waste is usually returned back to the homes in form of recycled products, and then the recyclables are sent to compost sites, or they're used to generate electricity.
Excellent. So as far as how some would describe Nigeria's current situation with waste management, some would say it needs improvement, right? As far as waste disposal is concerned, how would you describe Nigeria's current situation with waste disposal?
Like you said, I think it needs improvement is an understatement. Waste disposal management in Nigeria, system in Nigeria, is a major challenge. From Lagos to Abuja, no city, with over 40 cities and urban areas, it's still a problem. Some of we have Nigeria, for instance, we heard that we generate about 30 million waste annually, but only 20 to 30% of that waste is actually collected through the right method. Our common disposal methods in Nigeria that we've seen, we use a lot of open dumping on the streets. We also dump in gutters, in canals, in rivers, and we do a lot of open burning, and we do a bit of incineration, and then we use unregulated landfills a lot. And then I think looking at the problem with our poor waste disposal method, it can actually be linked to the level of poverty in the country, poor governance. A lot of institutional challenges are reasons for our poor waste disposal management method in Nigeria.
So what about the dangers, though? So there's a lot of issues there that have to be improved. So what are the dangers that we're looking at with the current methods, and then, with them not being up to speed?
One of the dangers that affects everyone is flooding. That's the environmental consequence of this. Every year we complain of flooding. It still rained, was this morning. Yes, was this morning, and then flooding everywhere. And this as a result of dump in our gutters. This blocked the drainages, has led to flooding, and this on the environmental part. And let's look at the location of the Olusosun landfill at Ojota. It's situated in the middle of a city area where a lot of people live and work. That is detrimental to human health on its own. And then landfills, when it's not regulated properly, it can serve as a breeding ground for disease-carrying vectors like rats, and rats cause Lassa fever. And that's a major problem that we have from time to time in Nigeria. If we're not careful in Nigeria, things like Lassa fever will be seen as a Nigerian problem, not a global pandemic, a global problem, and that really wouldn't be good for us.
Yeah, Lassa fever, we had unfortunate tragic deaths this year, but it was overshadowed by the coronavirus pandemic. But we had those outbreaks earlier this year. Are there any innovative waste disposal methods that Nigeria can practically adopt?
Yes, there are a number of innovative ways. We can look at countries like Sweden, Germany that have adopted innovative methods. But first and foremost, before we go into all of this, we need to address the public attitude towards waste disposal methods. That's the first thing. We need to raise awareness, and this awareness can only be done through the local and state government. People need to understand the need for proper waste disposal, for proper waste disposal, and the benefits that is going to be derived from this. And then we can look at recycling. For us to go into recycling, we need to start from the point of collection. We need to separate our waste, recyclables from non-recyclables. I know that some schools like UNILAG and other public institutions and hotels are already doing this, but this needs to be there needs to be a wider spread adoption of this across different states in Nigeria. Also, I'm aware that at some point the Lagos state government had a buyback program for waste, recyclable waste, but I don't know if that is still in place. If it isn't, they need to continue with that. Other states also need to adopt that. That's a very good incentive for to get people to dispose their waste properly. I mean, everybody likes to make money, and if you can make money from your waste, that is going to be so welcome.
Speaking of making money, I mean, I'm sure just walking down the street or driving, you've seen individuals toss out waste onto the street. What do you think about fining people for that? That's income for the state, because Mayowa, I have to say, the level to which one would have to get an awareness campaign across the urban and rural areas to where you can get people to just stop either chewing gum, pure water sachets, everything. What about fines? I don't know if that's effective, but what do you think?
Fines will be effective. It'll be effective, but then if you just fine people without them understanding the reason behind the fine, it really doesn't make sense. They just see it as a punitive measure. But first, they need to understand. Let them understand, then you can fine. So fines will be welcome, but there still needs to be an understanding for the reason for the fine.
All right, I can accept that. What about renewable energy? Talk about that a lot here. If you can briefly give us a rundown on how that can play into this.
Well, waste can be used to generate energy, and we know that the state of our power sector in Nigeria currently is poor, and we've had privatization, but even that has come with its challenges. Most people use generators, and that has come with also its own challenges. So looking at waste as an alternative source of energy will be cheaper, and it will be good to generate waste, but then it also comes with challenges that go into pollution, air pollution. So that may not be totally a good idea, considering the drive towards climate change globally. But then there are other sources of energy that we can explore. We have solar energy, wind energy, and in Nigeria we have an abundance of sunlight. So why not? And the government already has policies that adequately address solar energy and other sources of renewable energy like ethanol and wind. But then, like most problems in Nigeria, policy implementation is the issue.
All right. Mayowa Ige, analyst at Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thank you so much for taking us through the waste disposal methods and the fact that Nigeria needs to improve a lot because of the detriment if it's not done. Appreciate your time and appreciate your insights.